welcome back to Step Into the Story. I'm Barbara Tanner Wallace. I'm here with Donna Allward. We're going to have to change your title because it's Donna Jones Allward is your new pen name.
I know. I keep forgetting to do that.
We're taping this on a Sunday afternoon. We do it. We try to do these live, but we have very good reason. Tuesday, when this is airing, Donna will be on an airplane.
I will.
And then I will be flying out the following day. We're going to the Historical Novel Society's North American Conference. They have it every 2 years in San Antonio. We can't wait because some of our favorite authors are going to be there.
And good friends.
And good friends. And we're going to do some fangirling, along with learning some more about craft, kind of promoting somebody's upcoming novel, doing a little networking for somebody. Maybe not. But so we're sorry we can't do this live, but we do have a good reason, and then we'll be back on schedule. Hopefully.
Yeah, I will hopefully be, when we broadcast, I will hopefully be on a plane from Houston to San Antonio because I have like a 15-hour travel day. It's gross.
That is true. Well, yeah, like you said, it's like all day, right?
Yeah, I have to be at the airport at 3:30 in the morning, and I get in at like 6 something local, which is like 8 o'clock here.
Which,
yeah,
not to rub it in, but I have a 4-hour flight direct.
Yeah, since we're taping something for public consumption, I will not give you a rude gesture.
It's ironic because we're not that far distant, vertically. We're not that far.
No, we're not. But it's honestly, it's just the way the airline industry is going right now, and the fact that I live in Eastern Canada, so everything has to go through generally Toronto or anyway. I used to do this trip. I've done this trip before, and I did it with like one stop in Newark, and that just wasn't even an option on the table this time with airline scheduling. So this is what I got. 5 a.m.
All right. Well, it's not 5 a.m. right now. And speaking of fangirls, one of the people that will be there is Sarah Penner. And today we're talking about Sarah Penner's book, The London Seance Society.
We are indeed.
So it's her sophomore book. It's her follow-up from The Lost Apothecary, which we both really, really enjoyed.
Yep.
It's been a while. Let's put it up because it's been a while since we did the whole Inside Out discussion where we looked at the cover and then outside in. Yeah. I'm not saying do everything backwards. That's my excuse, and I'm holding to it. But Sarah has been blessed by the cover gods with both her books.
Yeah, the Lost Apothecary was also really gorgeous with this like purpley blue and like the striking bits of color with all the different floral like herb elements and stuff.
Oh yeah, I swear one of the reasons that book sold as well as it did when it first came out. I mean, I think word of mouth made it really got a buzz going, but when it first came out, The Lost Apothecary, against all these like grays and beiges and all that, it just jumped at you and people were automatically picking it up. Her
covers are really vibrant, and I think they just stand out.
But I like this one because it feels very Victorian.
Yes.
The colors and the gold and the green, even though they're bright colors, they're Victorian colors, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And the font and stuff is consistent with her first book too, which is consistent branding, and it kind of leads you to believe that you're going to get the same type of story, which you kind of do. This one is a little bit different, but it's still the same type of story. It's very, I mean, you could read the first one and read the second one and realize that yes, indeed, this is the same author with the same kind of voice. So
yeah, I agree.
Yeah, she also did some really fun things I noticed when it first came out and she started promoting it. She did some really neat things with matching the backgrounds to stuff, or even I'm sure there was an outfit that she kind of coordinated or whatever. The fabric looked very much like the floral background, and it was just beautiful. So she had lots to work with. It's a beautiful cover.
I wouldn't be surprised. She's very, very savvy on social media.
Yeah.
And so I wouldn't be surprised when you give somebody something that's really good to work with.
Yeah.
If they've got the talent, they're going to.
I mean, she teaches courses on social media. So.
And she got great placement for this. I know when I walked into Barnes and Noble, she had the solo rack in the front of the store. So she got great placement for this book.
Yep.
Which I think is a testimony to how well the first book did.
Yeah. All right. So, well, now that we've gushed over the cover,
Yeah.
we should probably get into the meat of the book. And so right off the bat, I'm going to go into something that I really, really noticed, which is that Sarah seems to, I mean, granted, we've only read 2 books, but in both books, she really seems to like writing strong female relationships. Because in The Lost Apothecary, the main character's main relationship is with her mentor, who is much older. And in this book, it's also a mentor-student relationship between Lenna and Vaudeline. But it takes it a step further in that this just isn't a mentor and student relationship, but it's also a sapphic relationship.
Yeah.
And I get the impression that Vaudeline was significantly older than Lenna. She's certainly far more experienced. So I'm not really sure how I feel about that. And then there are other really important female relationships as well, like Lenna's relationship with her sister, Evie. And we also know that she had a relationship with Eloise in the past. And so there's some really interesting relationships here. And then I got thinking about the relationships that they have with the men in their lives. And they're very utilitarian. Like, they're really relationships of utility and a means to an end, especially if you look at Evie and Mr. Morley. Like, and even like there's not much between that gets mentioned between Vaudeline and Mr. Volkman, but there's a lovely scene with Mr. Volkman's widow. So it's just really interesting, the difference between, their relationships with men and other women.
Yeah. I was thinking we should back up a little and kind of, because we're mentioning a bunch of names here.
Right.
Lenna is the main protagonist.
Yes.
And she is investigating the murder of her sister, Evie. So you never really meet Evie except through flashbacks. Well, is it Vaudeline or Vaudeline?
I would say Vaudeline or Vaudeline.
Okay. Vaudeline is a psychic that Lenna attaches herself to. She's a former member of the London Seance Society. And Lenna kind of attaches herself as an apprentice to learn about seances and about the ability to talk to the dead, because her sister Evie was very interested in it. And she feels that there's a connection between Evie's death and the ability to conduct seances and tap into the other reality, the other realm, as it were. Right. So Lenna's really the main, but you'll hear Evie and Vaudeline play very large roles. And then the other point of view character is Mr. Morley, who is the head of the London Seance Society.
Right. And Vaudeline wasn't a member because there were no women. But
that's right. Right.
She was tangential, right? And then, but then she was basically run out of London, which is why when the book opens, we find her in Paris. And then, right. So then the way the whole mystery with Evie and Mr. Volkman and everything, that brings her back to London and into the realm of the Seance Society again.
She really did her research on that, on the spiritualism in Victorian times. I mean, she Sarah, not the character Sarah, really knew what she was talking about. There were details in there that I had no idea about.
Yeah, and some of them, if you read the author's notes, some of them she made up. Yeah, like the seven sequence of 7 incantations and stuff. She fabricated that, but it was really, I love author. Well, we all know this. I love author's notes. So then but I waited and I read it at the end. And we
both know you can't make something up unless you know what you're talking about.
Right.
The best made up stuff is made because someone knows what they're doing. So she had so much research, she was able to pull off a very believable made up list.
Yes, you're 100% right.
One of the things that really impressed me with this, and we were talking about this off screen, is she really challenged herself.
I think so too.
Yeah, I think with a sophomore book, especially given how successful Lost Apothecary had been, it would have been very easy for her to play it safe and do something very similar. And instead, she played around with first she included a sapphic relationship, but I think was a little bit of a risk. And then she played around with the story elements, the points of view. There's some elements at the end that kind of bring in some more paranormal elements that you aren't expecting. And she definitely played with genre expectations, which I think she pushed herself. She took herself out. I don't know if she took herself out of her comfort zone. Maybe this is, but I think she took a lot of risks for a sophomore author. And I think that's incredibly brave.
Yeah, I think it really felt like she wrote the book that she wanted to write.
Yep.
And kind of said, like, the hell with expectations. But again, it's it did feel like you said before, you have to know it before you can make stuff up. Well, I think she didn't do it carelessly. I think like these were decisions that were made for the story and the story she wanted to tell and how she wanted to tell it. And she didn't let the noise of that, or at least that's the sense I got. She didn't let the noise of what expectations would be to dictate how she crafted this story. So I think that's
the sense I got too. And I'm really interested. It'll be very interesting to see what her third book is. Because there's going to be a third book coming out, and what she does with that one. She does strike me as a writer who is not afraid to do different things with everyone and not keep repeating the same pattern.
And honestly, that's awesome.
Yeah, I love when writers do that.
Because if you are an author who can write a story that is like very, very different from your last one, and yet your voice and their other things are consistent so that you still deliver on your particular promise to your reader, that's amazing, because then your work is not derivative of stuff that you've done before, but you're still giving readers what they expect.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things I like about this genre.
Me too, I think.
Because you and I, it is not a diss against our former genre, but romance, readers did want the same but different. I mean, it was what readers wanted, and you have to give readers what they want.
That's just what your brand's built on, and that's what your audience is. So
there's certain expectations that they want. They want a happy ending. They want, either a sweet style or a spicy style from you. They have a feel that they want. Like you wrote small town romances. They wanted that feel from you. If you suddenly gave them super spicy S&M, I think your readers would be like, yes, what's that? Whereas
Donna's body.
Wait a minute, they're supposed to be on a farm,
right?
But I think that
the bookstore and the local cafe.
And I think historical fiction readers are a little more open to like, they know they're not going to get the same thing every time, or at least it seems to me like the writers are very open
broader, right? Like it feels like what they want is just like a really good story, well told. And they, but as far as the plots themselves, I think it's less tropey.
That's a perfect.
It's less tropey.
Yeah.
So I think anytime that you can take something and deliver what the reader is expecting that they will get from a Sarah Penner novel, or Barbara Tanner Wallace novel, or a Donna Jones Allward novel, anytime that you can deliver that, but then give them a completely different story, like you look at Kate Quinn, her stories, none of them have been alike.
No, but her voice is always the same.
Her voice is always consistent, and you're going to get a tightly paced, page-turning, catch your breath read when you pick up a Kate Quinn novel.
Right, with kick-ass women.
Right.
Yeah, the same way, I'm trying to think of a good one. Julia Kelly, you're going to get a very different voice.
Right.
But you get the same voice every time. It's just
you get a very different story. Like if you look at The Last Garden in England, completely different from Last Dance of the Debutante.
Yeah.
But
English Girl. Yeah.
Right. But beautifully written books that sound like Julia. So yeah. All right. We're getting off track.
Oh, sorry. Off track. But anyways.
I know. I kind of like it when we do it too, but.
All right. Well, regarding some of her choices, one is that she chooses 2 points of view. One is third person and one is first person. The third person is Lenna, our main protagonist. And then you got Mr. Morley, who's in the first person.
Right.
What did you think about that? I have some thoughts, but I I'll let you go first, and we'll.
It was funny because I would be reading Lenna's scenes, and generally they were with Vaudeline, or a lot of her conversations happened with. And so I'd finish that scene, and then I'd go into like a Mr. Morley scene, and it'd be like, oh right, he's in first person. So I'd read that, and then I'd go back into Lenna, and I would be a little bit jarred at the beginning of that chapter, realizing that we're in third person and not first, because I kind of felt like, and I guess this is probably a good thing, I kind of felt like her third person point of view was so deep that I forgot that I was in third person, and I kind of felt like I was in first person.
It is interesting. I felt the same way, that I felt that Lenna's sections of her story, they were so deep, and for third person, you were deeper into her head than you were Mr. Morley's first person.
First.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm sure that was by choice, but because of some story elements there. But I liked the third person section much, much better. It was so strong.
Yeah, but I wonder what it would have been like if she'd written it in first person. I would also like to ask her if she planned to and changed it.
I know. I'd love to hear more about her before.
Right?
Maybe we can track her down. We can ask her those questions.
Okay, I'm not going to use the word stalk, but she will be in San Antonio.
Okay, so should we find her, we might accidentally be in the same locale as her and ask her some questions.
Yeah.
Like at the book signing. Yeah.
Like at the book
we signing. We will come back and let you know what she had to say.
Right. But yeah, so I think there were, like, here's the thing, I think with this whole book is that I'm not sure I would have made the same choices that she did, but I'm also not sure what I would have done alternatively, like kind of going in hand with the point of view. If you look at the structure, like, we learn fairly early on who the villain is, and like, she doesn't keep us guessing with that, and it's more about wondering how it's all going to unfold. And then when you look at Mr. Morley's point of view, a lot of it is spent back in time, not necessarily. I hesitate to call them flashbacks because they're longer. Like, they're longer periods of time where it goes back to his relationship with Evie. But, that structure stood out enough for me that, again, I'm not sure that's how I would have done it, but I'm not sure what I would have done differently. But you had a really interesting...
Well, I said the same thing. I said,
yeah.
I'm not sure, editorial-wise, I'm not sure I would have chosen those two POVs either.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what I would have done, but and clearly, if I had done it, it would have been my book versus her book, and it's her book. She gets to choose what she wants. But I thought it would have been great if they had a second timeline, because I loved the character of Evie, even though she was told all in flashback or backstory. She sounded like a fascinating character. She had a lot of shades of gray. She was mostly good, but not all good, and had a lot of secrets that she kept from Lenna. And I'm thinking to myself, God, that would have been a great second storyline if we'd had the dual timeline. I don't usually always push for dual timelines, but in this case, I would have loved the second storyline running to know her story. And hear it from her point of view.
Right. I mean, and it's just... And here's the thing, we could say that, and then we could try it and go, oh my God, that doesn't work at all.
Right.
Like it goes back to that, our, like we said in the writing room last month, that cardinal rule, which is, it's whatever serves the story.
Yeah.
That the right one is the one that's right for the story. And so, she might have done that, or could have thought about doing it and just had it not work or whatever. But I think that's an intriguing point, though. It would have made, I think, trying to figuring out what to reveal and when and pace it would have been much more complicated. But it would have been really neat. Anyway,
I think it's a case of a secondary character that this is my speculation. She was a secondary character that, as she got fleshed out, became bigger and more interesting than I think originally.
Maybe
she jumped off the page, and
she really did. She really did. Evie was like, she was a character.
Yeah, and she might not have been planned to be that vivid. It's just that her writing made her so vivid that you're like, so it would have been great. And maybe someday she'll write a extra or something and tell us some more from her point of view.
That would be cool.
That would be cool.
That would be cool.
So now going back, because you made a comment about the romance, about the age difference. So what did you think about the romance?
I think it was just, so I have zero problem with it being a sapphic romance. I thought that was incredibly cool for her to do. Loved it. Loved that part. Yep. I think what it was the age difference and the mentor-student kind of thing. And whether it felt, I'm always conscious of things feeling like a meeting of equals. And although, by the time you get to the end of the story, you see Lenna's character grows so much in maturity and like her outlook broadens so much that I suppose they're more equal at the end.
And I actually thought they were pretty equal at the beginning, not necessarily in terms of the whole psychic phenomena concept, but Lenna was a very smart woman, and she didn't hold back her opinions.
She didn't.
And I felt like they were of equal intelligence. So even though one had more experience in one thing, I felt like it was a meeting of equals in the sense that Lenna was up to the job.
Yeah, I think so. And I mean, from the very beginning, it was, Vaudeline was always telling her that she had a really big affinity for this stuff, and that she was like unusually good at memorizing the incantations. Like she seemed to be very much a natural. And I was definitely rooting for them. I liked how that all unfolded, because the romance definitely wasn't the core of the story. It was something that made the choices that they made more difficult because there were feelings involved for each other.
Deepened the story.
Yeah. So, I mean, I kind of thought about the movie Ammonite that had Saoirse Ronan in it, and it was sort of like an older woman and a younger. I guess the thing is, Lenna isn't necessarily innocent, but she is innocent in some ways. So I don't know. There was a little bit of unease with that for me, but at the same time, I was definitely rooting for them, and I liked how it ended for them.
I think it served the story really, really well. I think that if they had just been friends or mentor-teacher, I don't think some of the conflict would have worked the same. Because
I agree.
Conflict was because they had feelings for one another. They're not necessarily conflicts regarding would they or would they not get together, but they made choices based on feelings. And I will say, I think it was an unusual relationship, not because it was a lesbian romance, but there's, some little edgier components to it. Vaudeline is, let's just say she's not vanilla when it comes to her interests in lovemaking.
And we just get a hint of it, though.
Right.
But there's,
Yeah, that she's just got a little more edge to her than we think, a little darker side.
Which isn't surprising considering what she does for a living.
Right. And I was like you. I wanted them to get together. I thought it was a very sweet story. There were some scenes in there where you feel Lenna's longing for her.
And there was a lot of yearning.
And but it was really well done. And you felt her longing for this woman and not being sure if she returned the feelings because we should say Vaudeline presented as bisexual.
Yes.
And so at the time she doesn't know that. So there's a lot of yearning and longing, and it's very well done. There's some scenes that are very emotionally pretty and well written. So, I think, again, like I said, our rule is always if it serves the story. And I think that she chose it because it served the story.
Yeah. And honestly, if there hadn't been sexual tension between them and like romantic tension, emotional tension between them, the stakes would not have been as high when you get into probably the last third of the book. When everything sort of changes and the stakes get higher, and then having that bond between them makes it even more complicated.
Yeah.
So, Anyway, so final verdict.
I liked it.
I did too.
I think that it will make a really great beach read. I think that people enjoy it as, you know, sitting by the pool, sitting at the beach. It's got enough meat in it to make it not breezy and
Right.
you know, you're going to remember it, but at the same time, it's a fast read. She's got a very accessible voice.
Yep.
So I think that it's a great beach read. I think that.
Or a rainy Sunday afternoon.
Rainy Sunday afternoon, like the entire East Coast of Canada and New England.
Right. Before we go, like, I know this isn't going to broadcast until Tuesday when I'm traveling and stuff, but I just have to say how happy we are to have rain after we've had some horrible wildfires here. I mean, I know you guys even had an air advisory.
Yeah, we did. We could see the smoke from Nova Scotia where we were.
I had several acquaintances who had to evacuate. Some I still don't know, and I don't think they know if their houses have made it.
One of them's a friend of the show because I've reviewed her books, which is Julianne McLean.
Yeah.
Keep it across to her.
There's several writer friends that I know that live in that, if not the evacuation zone, the state of emergency zone. And one of my husband's friends, his house, he found out yesterday that his house actually is still standing, although he lost an outbuilding, and there's definitely property damage, but it looks like at least the house is okay, which is, he was in one of the worst parts. So
that's good.
But yeah, Sunday afternoon reads when it's raining, like all of us here are just so thankful that the weather's changed. And
so hopefully while you're in the plane, news is that things are revealed not to be as destructive as people thought.
Yeah, I hope so, and I hope people get to go back to their homes that are still displaced, and
just that they didn't lose the memories that are stuck in there. That's the stuff that's the hard part. And I always feel bad. You know, it's a house you can replace, but photos and family things that you collected over the years.
And a lot of people had less than 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And some people, it was a Sunday afternoon, so some people weren't home and then couldn't get home.
Yeah, it's hard.
And so, and like some, I know with Daryl's buddy, he had to leave his cats behind, but they're okay.
Oh, good.
I'm not sure if it was Natural Resources or I'm not sure what service it was, but actually went in and got the cats. And,
good. I mean, it's one thing.
They were reunited. So you know,
firefighters and stuff are really good about that. Like they do. I mean, they don't want to see anybody hurt or any animal hurt either.
No, but yeah, it's just been, and of course, I wasn't here for most of it because I was in Newfoundland. But I was pretty glued to what was happening with stories because, again, I know so many people in that area. It's a very heavily populated area, so it's pretty scary.
And before that, you had the west coast of Canada. So basically, I've been sending prayers up to Canada for like 2 weeks.
Yeah, we're just on fire.
Not in a good way.
Right. Okay, so now it's time for some fun stuff before we go. So what are you reading right now?
I just finished an advanced read of Kristen Harmel's The Parish Daughter, which
it's on my Kindle.
I think it comes out Tuesday, and oh my God, I inhaled it. It was so good.
I can't wait. It's on my Kindle.
So good. And
it might be my next, like, my travel read on Tuesday.
You'll be done. You'll need a second book. I'm telling you.
So that's what a Kindle's for.
Oh my God, it's so good. It's about motherhood and grief and dealing with loss, and you know, and what maternal sacrifices, and what's a good mother versus what's not.
Oh, goosebumpy already.
I was crying because, and when the funny thing is, the plot is really kind of predictable, but it didn't matter because you were so emotionally invested. it was like Susan Meisner when you're like
emotionally invested is like where I live. So
emotionally invested was the theme of my May reading. So I am going to start features, I can't remember the full name, starring Adele Astaire by Eliza.
Eliza's,
which is also coming out on Tuesday. And Eliza sent us 3 copies. So because we're her
She
friend.
did, and she's going to be guesting with us later in the summer when things calm down a little bit.
And she's another author. I loved the Mayfair Bookshop, so I'm
really, me too. It was Was that 2 years ago? Last year?
Last year.
Okay, so
She's
it
a very
was.
prolific writer.
I actually think that might have been my top read of the year, or very close to it. It was
It was a
definitely
good read.
it was definitely in my top. So anyway, yes. So I am reading The Paris Deception, which I know you've already finished.
I did, and again, awesome, amazing.
Okay, so
Amazing book. Okay, I can't gush enough about what I read this month.
all right. So The
good
Paris Deception by Bryn Turnbull. And so that kind of segues into our closing for what is coming up next for us, because Bryn is actually our featured author this month. And so she'll be joining me on June 20th.
I'm so bummed out. I'm going to miss it.
I'm so sorry that you're going on a dream vacation.
And not being able to stalk Bryn Turnbull. That's where I'm like, oh, but I can't stalk Bryn.
I know.
So Bryn, I'll stalk somewhere else.
I might even be doing this one on the road. I'm not sure yet, because I might be away again. June is just, but she will be with me on June 20th at 7 p.m. She's going to talk about this book, and I also want to pick her brain about. We did The Lost Grand Duchess last year. It was one of our monthly picks, and so I want to pick her brain about her writing experience, and then on the 27th, we're going to have a special writing room segment, because we're going to talk about all the things that we're going to absorb at conference.
All the tips and the tea.
The tips and the tea. That's what we should call it. Tips and tea.
There we go.
I love it.
Maybe we get some scoop on, some upcoming releases, and give a little
and
shout out about some people's books coming up.
And what authors are working on, and all that good stuff.
Get a little buzz going for them.
That's it. So until next time, if you're watching, you can join our community at www.facebook.com/groups/stepintothestory, or subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/@stepintothestory.
Thank you very much for listening. We appreciate it. We will be back Donna will be back in just a couple of weeks with Bryn.
Yeah. And Barb will be back. Barb will be back on our Facebook group with pictures from her vacation.
There we go. All right. Thanks a lot, guys. Bye-bye.